What an absolutely bizarre year it was for movies, right? Oh, this movie's coming out in the theater. Sure it is. Oh, don't worry, this movie is still coming out in 2020. Yeah, no, it's not. So yes, things did not go according to plan. That being said, 2020 still had quite a good few films. Some that were mainstream and others that were from underdog studios that aren't as well known. So this is my top 5 best animated films from 2020. By the way, this is just bullet point notes, nothing in excruciating detail, so take that for what it's worth. Number 5, True North. So this one caught me by surprise in quite a few ways. First off, I did not know it was even a thing until like 5 months ago, where a person was like, hey, did you watch that new North Korean death camp animated movie? And I was like, what? And yeah, True North was that film. And it was made by a very small team. I can't even recall the studio that made it. As a matter of fact, I think it might have just been a handful of artists and that was it. And the movie is telling this true story of these prisoners from North Korea and how one of them, no, actually I think it was 2 of them, escaped the camp. And this is their story of how their family was first put into the camp, why they were put in the camp, what they suffered while there, the injustices, the travesties, the crimes against humanity. It is an incredibly dark film. And it's all based on true events. Like, these camps exist. And the thing that got me the most was the time frame where this was all happening in like the mid to late 2000s. And I was like, whoa, I was just some high schooler at that time, while these people were fighting for their lives, putting these inhumane conditions. So for the story alone and how it was presented, I think this film's amazing. I think it's a testament to using the animation medium to tell stories that aren't just like cartoony nonsense. Don't get me wrong, I love my cartoony nonsense, but animation can do more than just that. Visually, this film isn't like extraordinary. It's stylized, it's not super fluid, but it almost feels kind of dreamlike, like you're recalling a memory where it's cloudy and kind of soft. And in that regard, it works well with this story. It's not like top tier fluid animation, it's computer animation, and which can also be fluid, but it felt slow, kind of the frame rates are a bit slower, but it works with the story. Because the story begins with one of the prisoners who escaped at a TED Talk sharing to an audience the horrendous conditions that he went through. And at the end of the film, they show satellite imagery of these death camps that he escaped from. And it just blows my mind. It makes you sit there after watching this film and you go, okay, life's not that bad. Could be a lot worse. At least I can, like, I don't know, order a pizza and not be thrown into a death camp. I'm not making light of the situation. It's a very serious topic. And if you really want to see it from the point of view of a person who suffered it firsthand, then I recommend True North. Number 4, Over the Moon. Now, this movie was done by a Chinese studio. It was like a Sony division, I believe, and it was headed by Disney animator, or previous Disney animator, Glenn Keane. It takes place in China. It's about a little girl trying to build a rocket ship so she can fly off to the moon and talk to this moon goddess and convince her father, who lost his wife, the little girl's mother, that he should, like, not give up, that he should still love her and not move on to another woman. So, some family drama. Throw in some fantasy elements of the little girl and her little brother to be going to the moon, seeing the moon city, all of its denizens, dipping into Chinese lore and its spiritual like characters and history and folklore. That was, to me, was really cool. I want to see more Chinese animation this decade, which I'll tell you right now, we are going to get. I have a future video about that on the horizon. But to see Chinese stories and characters and goddesses, and that was neat. That was refreshing. It's a different perspective, and it was told beautifully. There are some clunky moments, like I don't really care for little brother. I think the city could have been fleshed out a bit more with its denizens, a bit more building with the setting. But that all being said, where it matters most with the characters and the story and the visuals, it was outstanding. I wouldn't say it was like, wow, this is like top tier, the best thing I've ever seen. It's like, no, it's just very good. And it's a testament to how other studios are really catching up with Disney and Pixar and DreamWorks. And we're going to be seeing a lot more of that in the 2020s. Number 3, Soul. Oh man. So I have existential dread, something fierce. I think about life and death daily. Not to get down or anything, it's just something that's always on my mind. And eternity is on, I think, most people's minds because we're just temporary creatures. That being said, I've often wondered, where do we exist, if we do, before we're born? And Soul is a film about that. It's about a soul that died and then a soul who hasn't lived, teaming up in a way and getting to know each other about the purposes of life, why we exist, what we perceive to be our purpose, and what is actually like the most important parts of getting the chance to live. It was done by Pete Docter. He did Inside Out, Monsters, Inc., Up. He's probably my favorite director at Pixar. And visually, story-wise, across the board, this film was great. I think it's lacking a certain magic to make it truly outstanding. Like Ratatouille or WALL-E or Up. There was enough of a serious story plus the magic to go with it to like, wow, here we go. Here it's like, it's a little bit too much of a downer. Feels a little bit too tame. I don't know. There's something missing that could have elevated it to the point of like top tier Pixar films. Possibly needed better side characters. Just a certain something. I'm still trying to put my finger on it. But that all being said, still one of the best films to come out this year. It was a bold direction by Pixar. They did something that was quite different compared to Bug's Life, to Toy Story. All these Pixar films always have like serious elements to them with heartfelt moments, and you definitely get that here in Soul. But it's also like very existential, talking about life and death, talking about purpose, things that I don't think kids are going to click with as much as adults will. So funny enough, I see this movie being more for an older audience than a younger audience. Not saying a younger audience can't enjoy it, but I definitely see it resonating more with viewers who have been through life or a bit more along the path of life to reflect on it, compared to kids who are like, where's the car? Why is he not talking? Where's Mater and Buzz? It's like, no, shut up. We're talking about existence. Sit down, be quiet. So I love it. For where it matters, it really counts. And I think Soul definitely deserves a spot on this list. Number 2, Lupin III. Now, I know that this film technically came out in 2019, but it was not released in America until 2020. So, to me, it technically counts. Also, when it was released in Japan, it was very, very, like, cut off and, like, was only at a few places and was not available online. So, as far as a broad release goes, 2020. I loved this film. It's one of the best 3D animated adaptations I've ever seen. Ever. It was able to capture the charisma, the personality, the style of Lupin. It was able to take that on a visual level and just blow it out of the water. Right down to Lupin's grin, his smarmy smile, that debonair like look about him where he's like, yeah, I'm mischievous. I know what I'm doing. The assets for the settings, the buildings, the planes, the vehicles, the guns, it was great. I love this. It was a movie where I was like, wow, how did I miss this one? So glad I got a chance to sit down and finally watch it. And once more, like, I know that like the Peanuts movie was a good example of a faithful adaptation that was able to successfully stylize 2D to 3D. This is the same case for Lupin, where it's like they took what was in 2D and brought it over to 3D seamlessly. Well done. Capture the characters' personalities. It was fun. We blow up some Nazis. It's a good time, folks, and I highly recommend it. I look forward to seeing what Marza Animation Planet and TMS Entertainment have planned in the future. You guys are going places. Before we get to number 1, a couple of honorable mentions. Made in Abyss had a film that came out this year. I have thoughts. It's kind of like, I don't know, Made in Abyss, the movie, is like, the entire series is visually stunning. I love the world. It is one of my favorite settings ever for fictional property. But as far as like some of the weird, I think some of the audience who's watching this knows what I'm talking about. There's some weird moments in this that makes me uncomfortable and not in a way where it's like, that's good storytelling, but more of a, ooh, that's disturbing. Like, I look at the writers and I'm like, what are you getting at? There's High Up Ka, which was from the Philippines. That was a good film. There's Onward, lukewarm on that. I mean, visually good. Story-wise was dull. There's The Willoughbys. That was a Netflix movie. Had some good snap to it. The first and second act were great. Third act felt a bit slow. There's The Croods 2. Watch that. It was better than what I expected. Wasn't fantastic. Felt a bit derivative. Like the cool fantasy fictional creatures though. There's Trolls World Tour. I like the spunkiness of that film, the visuals, but the overall story felt kind of weak. I like that, the main rock and roll girl troll. She was great. Movie should have been just about her. Cut out the pop trolls. They're annoying. I did not get a chance to watch A Whisker Away. Shame on me. But my number one pick for this year, by a long shot, is Wolfwalkers. This movie was made by Cartoon Saloon. It is an Irish studio. They made Song of the Sea. They made The Secret of Kells. They are one of the most incredible animation studios in the world today. Their visual style is so unique, so beautiful. It is one of a kind. I can't think of another company or studio or a group of artists that come close to what Cartoon Saloon has been able to accomplish. Their stories are full of personality, of Irish lore. The visuals are outstanding, fluid, beautiful, 2D animation, and it's got this stylization with like round shapes. The characters just, I keep saying it over and over, but they just overflow with personality. You see these designs and you're like, wow, like the wolf girl. Oh man, fantastic. And her personality works so well with the hunter girl. Their names escape me because I'm dumb. But the overall story for Wolfwalkers is beautiful. It's some really interesting themes about human encroachment and nature and the balance between, which we've done this story before, but they tell it well here. But the visuals though, that's the main show. If you are a fan of 2D animation, go support Cartoon Saloon. They're doing things over there that the Disney animators of old would be impressed at. It is the settings, the stylization of the forest and the buildings and just everything, just literally everything in this movie on a visual level is tremendous. So again, the story is kind of basic, but I'm cool with that. It works. They tell it effectively. If you're telling a simple story, tell it well. And they do that here. I don't want to say any more. I want you all to go check it out. Wolfwalkers is on Apple TV. Go buy it somewhere else. Pretty sure it's on Amazon. It's worth buying and supporting. And yeah, that's my number one pick for 2020. So tell me what you all think in the comments. I want feedback. Did I miss something good? Was I wrong with one of my choices? Let me know. And that is it for 2020. Guys, thank you for supporting me. Good luck next year. And yeah, hopefully things won't get as bad as they were this year because it was a rough one. Here's to 2021.